Hi, folks. Welcome to Business with Benefits. I'm the guy with the bow tie coming to you live. You will see Anna Morgan to my right joining us today in honor of LinkedIn Meetup ATM. I'm trying to showcase the people that I met at that event. Anna is wearing a bow tie, kind of. You gonna show off your bow tie for everybody?
Yay!
The closest she had. What do you call it? Your what kind of shirt?
I called it my Golden Girls shirt.
So those of you that know Golden Girls, you watched it when you were younger, you watch it on reruns on Nick at Night, or the station that shows it. There's two stations that show it all the time. But
Exactly.
we're here to talk about careers and having job seekers and employers win when it comes to hiring people. So Anna, I know you're working with Floor and Decor. Can you give a little feedback on your background and things of that nature for everybody watching?
Absolutely. So I work for Floor and Decor as a corporate recruiter. We're one of the fastest growing flooring retailers in the United States and world right now. So if you are not following us, definitely follow us and check out our career opportunities. And then I do some career coaching in the evenings and on the weekends for job seekers around job search strategy and really just building their personal brand and how to work smarter rather than harder through their job search process.
Awesome. What's that journey been like for you? Because did you always come into your career knowing that's what you want to do?
Well, I accidentally fell into sales and recruiting, and I walked into an agency recruiting firm many, many years ago as a candidate. I had been selling advertising, and I knew that I didn't want to sell advertising any longer. And I was recruited in to learn selling and recruiting. And from there, my career took off, and I always loved the human connection of meeting candidates and asking insightful questions and learning about them as people, first and foremost, and then taking that knowledge and matching them up with great employers throughout the Atlanta and Tampa market throughout my career.
Okay. Tampa, you're from Florida?
I'm from Atlanta originally. I'm a Georgia peach, so I worked in Tampa for about 6 years.
Okay.
I came back.
What made you come back?
Opportunity, my husband's business, and my family's here. I have siblings here, and just lots of, connections and family.
Okay, perfect. Well, something I've seen, LinkedIn used to be a place for resumes. It wasn't really always what it is today.
Right.
So you've been using LinkedIn for a while. So how's that evolution of LinkedIn kind of changed what you do?
Well, I have definitely been humbled in the LinkedIn world in the last, I would say, 3 months. So I've been on LinkedIn since I started my recruiting career. And up until a couple months ago, I would have considered myself a pretty expert level user, as I use Navigator, I use LinkedIn Recruiter, so I have special license to source candidates through my employers. But it wasn't until I took Judy Fox's LinkedIn Accelerator program that I really learned the value of how to show up as a leader and an authority and to share my experience with others to be of service. And like I said, I thought I knew all the ins and outs of LinkedIn, but I've learned so much in the last 3 months, especially since coming to the LinkedIn Live event and connecting with so many great people like yourself, and really sharing that knowledge on how to work smart on the platform and how to engage and how to just be a leader and a servant leader first and foremost.
Has that changed kind of recruiting? I mean, because years ago, sources were you had the job board somewhere, you had the newspaper. How has LinkedIn kind of changed your actual working for helping career seekers find placement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's always been a place that we have gone to see, like, okay, who is Daryl Perry and what is he all about? Does he work in the industry that I'm looking for? But now it's becoming a place where candidates can use LinkedIn as another leverage point in their job search process. So in my experience in recruiting, when people apply to a position, I see the resume. I may do a phone screen with them. They may follow up, but then I see them engaging in my content on LinkedIn. So it's just like sales, right? The number of times that you have exposure to that person or have those conversations or those connections, the more top of mind that candidate is going to be for that prospective employer. So LinkedIn is giving job seekers a chance to be socially interactive and showing up in a different way versus just applying for a position. So they may be following their ideal hiring manager or their ideal company or the recruiter that they did the phone screen with. And that their name's going to keep showing up. And I'm going to be like, oh, there's Daryl Perry again, commenting on my content. And then he sent me a follow-up email, and then he sent me a direct message. And then bam, I have that position open. And I'm like, I'm calling Daryl Perry for that role. So it's a great way to nourish those relationships with prospective employers.
Okay, perfect. And we have some comments coming up. We had Daniel Watson said, yes, they can. That's probably an old comment I just read now, so sorry about that.
Yeah.
And Catherine Faustinello said hi. And speaking of comments, we had a question before. Someone asked about how come job seekers can't get feedback from people hiring. So kind of share why they can't get feedback.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So I think most recruiters, when we're in the seat, we absolutely want to extend the professional courtesy to people and let them know you're not getting the position, right? And most times that comes in a form of a rejection letter, but it really comes down to time and legal issues. Most employers do not want us giving feedback for the sake of hurting feelings and being potentially sued. So unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in right now. And a lot of people can misconstrue feedback in a discriminatory way, and we just don't want that.
Okay, so pretty much just know if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. That's kind of
the and it's totally acceptable, to follow up and ask for feedback. And the devil is in the details, right? With candidates, always following up, referencing what position they interviewed for, when they interviewed for it, reattaching the resume. So there's ease of use for the recruiter, because a lot of candidates are very singular focused and they think, oh, I'm just applying to this one position, but they may not realize that corporate recruiters are working 20 to 40 positions at a time. So if they reference when they spoke, what position they spoke about, and reattach the resume, again, it's just that extra touch that reminds the recruiter, okay, yes, I need to submit this candidate for this position, or follow up with the hiring manager for scheduling or for feedback and next steps.
Okay, well, that brings an interesting point, because in the job seeker market, I could think back when I was looking for jobs, most of the time we would just send your resume and fingers crossed. So what do you see some opportunities job seekers have to make themselves stand out and kind of get that dream role they're looking for?
Yeah. Okay. So, focusing on connection over qualifications, like looking at your network, kind of like that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Like, and always being top of mind, because most of the times it could be the people that we're coaching with, that we go to church with, that our parents on our kids' lacrosse teams or soccer teams, that might be what I call a gate opener for opportunity. So, I know not everyone is like an extrovert, and they're not going to be advertising like, hey, I'm looking for a job, but have that top of mind when you're out interacting in your community. That is like my first just basic point of advice, right? To be spreading that message that you're open to opportunities. Then, working smarter rather than harder is like being strategic is more profitable. So really researching companies that might align with what is important to you as a person, your mission, your vision, your values, like the core things that are important to you. Seek out companies that are telling those stories, right? And follow those companies. Maybe search out the keyword search of your ideal hiring manager and start connecting with those people on LinkedIn and other social platforms. Recruiters look up candidates on all kinds of platforms. Candidates can do the same thing for employers, and then be intentional. Be intentional with your engagement on LinkedIn, and follow up. Follow up is the absolute key, really, in sales and marketing and job searching. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, the old saying, the fortune's in the follow-up. It's never going to go away, I don't think. Well,
Absolutely. I mean, that's an old saying, but it's 100% true.
well, so like at Florida Core, obviously it's more of a skilled trade. It's a job that's kind of a different thing. But what is it when you're trying to place candidates you're seeing is the best thing? Like, are you looking at millennials more, Gen X? What do you think is doing well?
So with our organization, I mean, we are highly innovative right now. So we're looking to attract all kinds of top talent. I recruit mostly for corporate positions. So that's
Okay.
supply chain operations, finance, accounting, IT. So it's skilled positions in the corporate type of setting. And
Okay.
our leaders are well trained and interviewing. We focus on performance management and development. We actually promote very heavily from our stores. So that's
Okay.
always a great place for people to start and transition into corporate opportunities. So it really depends on the department. I was an agency recruiter for many years, and now working on the corporate side, it's like having 50 internal clients. Each department has their own kind of internal culture and different leadership. But the nice thing is that everyone's charging up the hill together, and
Yeah.
that message is seamless across from entry level positions up to our board of directors.
Okay. Well, with that, so you're always looking for placements, resumes. You're talking to people all the time. What are some
Yeah, all
missed
the time.
opportunities? What are like some missed opportunities people are having on their resume or their social presence? Like,
So
what's some missed opportunities?
the common stumbling blocks that I see candidates go through is like I do most of my interviews over the phone, right? So I
Okay.
talk to 10 to 15 people a day. And I would say a lot of people don't have a professional voicemail set up, which sounds so silly and simple, but it's a common thing that I see.
Mm-hmm.
People show up to the phone interview like they just woke up, and that they don't even actually know what position they applied for.
Oh
And
man.
they also struggle actually knowing their resume. And,
Hmm.
that's an opportunity where having a mentor or having a career coach helps candidates because they need to be able to explain their experience in a storytelling type of way that
Mm-hmm.
is a cohesive conversation, right?
Okay.
Um, Sometimes people show up super nervous, very flat, very kind of Debbie Downer, and I'm
Yeah.
like, do you want to talk to me? Um, it's really just, putting your best foot forward and showing interest in being present in that conversation, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be a touch of, you go, no, you go, like on the phone. Um, but if they can talk about their resume and their experience and really know the position that they're applying for, the conversation will go much more smoothly and natural questions will come up from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Doing screening interviews is not easy. Sometimes
Right. Yeah.
with all the different types of positions, so you get a lot of different personalities. But I think the common theme is just knowing your resume, being able
Mm-hmm.
to highlight your skills and experience as it relates to the job description, and then follow up. Like I did 14 phone interviews, I got 3 thank you emails. And it's important to follow up and say thanks for the time. Here's why I think I'm a good fit. And then lastly, I would say candidates, don't be afraid to research who you're doing the phone screen with, right? So a
Good
lot of
point.
people comment about my coaching lacrosse or when I fell in the corporate water fountain or that I have 4 rescue dogs. Like it's a conversation starter. And that goes back to that connection over
Mm-hmm.
qualifications. And having that rapport with a candidate is planting that seed that's going to nourish that relationship.
I think that's important that you mentioned that because people don't look at seeking a job as building a relationship. They look at it like, I need a job. I'm just going to go get a job. And they don't think about the relationship part that you'll probably see that person every single day you're there, or,
Right.
something might happen. You might become a friend with that person. So it definitely is relationship building. We had Erica Thompson had a comment for us real quick. She said, what would you guys recommend when you keep reaching out but not getting any response? Basically, how long do you keep reaching out without wasting your time or becoming a burden?
Good question. Trust your gut. A lot of times now that I'm on the internal side, I have seen why things slow down sometimes. Travel schedules, sickness, maternity leaves, um, positions put on hold. I think pleasantly persistent is always helpful. So if you have had a phone screen or a face-to-face interview, I would follow up weekly for at least 4 weeks. And if you don't
Okay.
get a response in that amount of time, then I think they're sending the message that it's like, thanks, but no thanks. And
Okay.
oftentimes rejection letters don't go out until the person is like in the position. So that's why people might be not being considered, but they haven't heard back personally.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams run pretty lean, so it is hard to balance that number of positions and get back to everybody. But again, recruiters that I know across the board, agency or corporate, we really do try to get back to everybody. I know ghosting is like a really bad topic,
Right.
but it's just the nature of volume of what we deal with.
Well, with that said, too, you're trying to get the position, you're following up and all that. What are a couple things that might be like a red flag for an employer or recruiter when they look at your resume to say, nah, not so much, or even looking at your social presence? What are a couple like red flags that are opportunities for people to make their shop better?
I really think having a well-written resume that is will go through an applicant tracking solution. So nothing too graphic, and it really depends on the industry, right? So I don't want to pigeonhole but I think more simple is more effective personally.
Okay.
So a Word document, a PDF document. If you have moved from like out of state, say from Florida to Georgia, and you have companies on there, I always recommend that you summarize like the Google summary of what the company does, because recruiters are looking for how many jobs you've had in a certain number of years. Have you worked in a similar industry for what I'm recruiting for? And do your titles align somewhat to the job function I'm looking to fill?
Okay.
And are you, relocatable or in this area? So if there's a company on there that I'm like, oh, I don't know who that is, candidates only have a couple of seconds before that person makes a decision on whether they're going to pick up the phone to call them or move on to the next resume. So it's really about having a resume that doesn't leave questions. And that's why it's always helpful to have other people look at your resume. I had an HR professional the other day send me her resume with no contact information on it.
Oh, that's hard to get a job that way.
Exactly. And so like I was trying to contact her, and then I finally responded to the email, and I was like, I can't get a hold of you. And she was so embarrassed. And it was probably one of those situations where she just picked the wrong file. Like maybe she had sent it to an agency recruiter. A lot of agencies ask to remove the address because they put their logo on it when they send the resume. But it was just like hilarious. She was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no problem. At least I had your email.
Well, I
So
think we talked about that offline a little bit with email and the resume. Like, is the file name important? Because I know back when I would do resumes, I would usually just put my name, like Daryl Perry resume. But is
absolutely.
that
And that
important?
is
Okay.
the best practice. I can tell you, out of the, hundreds that I look at daily, most of them are saved as resume.2020 or the bomb resume.doc. Or there was one I saw today. It was like the final resume.2020. So it's always important to save your file name as your name, because what happens on our desk is we open the email, we're like, oh, Daryl Perry, great candidate. I download the file, right? So it gets saved in my downloads. And then the phone rings, or somebody walks up to my desk, or I get lost in my direct messages. And then I go back, I'm like, where's Daryl Perry's resume? So I go to the search bar and I type in Daryl Perry. And if your resume is saved as thebombresume.com, you're not coming up. So then I have to go back in the email, re-download the resume. And it just takes a long time. And it just is increasing that likeliness of your resume falling through the cracks. So just
Mm-hmm.
always save your resume file as your name.
Perfect. Okay, we have
Super simple.
Bonnie Struminger. She's going to be on live with me in a few weeks. She put, agree with you, Anna, and don't lose your cool. You'll blow an opportunity because, like you said, may not know the reasons. When she's referring to the ghosting, she said, don't be a Casper.
I try not to. And, I humbly apologize if I've ghosted anybody out there, but I do the best I can.
Mm-hmm. And she also said, we got a video with the resume one time. Loved it, caught her attention immediately. And the video was fantastic, giving great context to the pile of words and differentiating this person from everyone else. So has that been a trend you've seen with your role, is getting videos with resumes?
So I used to work for a staffing firm that would actually have their candidates record like 30-second video introductions of themselves that they would send with a resume. And I really love that because that is really highlighting that connection and allowing people's personalities to shine. But I have recommended to candidates, if they're hitting these roadblocks and, they're not getting results, and, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Be innovative, be brave, put a video message together and send it to a direct hiring manager in LinkedIn, or send it with the resume. I mean, what do you have to lose, right?
Right.
These innovative companies, they're doing things differently. So they're looking for talent that is willing to go above and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
I even heard someone like putting themselves up on a billboard in Atlanta somewhere recently.
Tyler Perry. Yep, Tyler Perry had an actress get a job. Now he told everybody, "Don't all of y'all make billboards. You're gonna waste your money." But that was definitely different. She wasn't even that.
I mean, it's grassroots marketing, and we are the product, right? So how we show up in our resume, how we show up on LinkedIn, how we show up in our community, it's all connected. It's all these data points that is building our profile and is going to help us leverage those connections to help get our foot in the door.
Yep. And then Bonnie's giving you yes. Amen, Anna.
I like you, Bonnie.
Bonnie's awesome. You'll love when she goes live with me later on.
Awesome.
A good thing too, I think you mentioned innovative companies. So in my role, I work with a lot of small businesses, and some of them don't even have a LinkedIn presence. They're like, I'm not on that. I'm not looking for a job. So what would you say employers' opportunity is for the social media change with the millennials, Gen X, and everything going on?
Yes.
What's the opportunity employers have?
Yes. I feel like, like brick and mortar companies have these marketing departments, right, that are all focused around selling product or selling services, right? And they have this whole audience of all these customers that are buying all their product, but they're not telling the story of who they are as a company. So I think having a company LinkedIn page is critical, and being active on there. I'm a big fan of, messy action is better than no action, right?
Yes, I love
Get your
that.
employees to sign a waiver, start taking pictures, start taking videos. Other people are going to say, oh, well, what if those employees leave and then they're on your LinkedIn page or on your website? Who cares? They work there for a period. And the other thing I recommend is get your employees engaged, like have an ambassador program, have a robust referral program. Employees want to be a part of what the company's doing, right? And this is especially critical for millennial and Gen Z and younger. They want to be a part of a purpose. Is the company environmentally sound? Are they active in the community? Can they do something more than just come in and push out purchase orders and, sign checks, right? It's more than that. We spend more than 40 hours a week at work, and candidates are really looking at who is this company, from a place of integrity, and does that align with their core values? So employers need to start showing up more in a social platform and not being afraid to get out there and have these conversations and tell the story of what it's like to work there. Like I posted today, one of my merchandising teams delivered tulips to my desk for no reason outside to say thank you. And, that kind of employee appreciation goes a long way. And so I wanted to highlight that in my feed because I want people to know that this is the type of employer that Floor & Decor is. and we can share that story. And it gets tricky, sure, legally with like social media policies and stuff like that. But I think for medium to smaller size businesses, you can definitely dive into that and get people engaged. And a lot of employees love social media. They want to be a part of that. You can have someone in your marketing team split time between employment branding and core marketing. So,
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Give you some updates and comments. Bonnie said she likes you too, so you get a new fan.
Thank you.
And then Erica said, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Isabella said, I like the idea to attach a short video to introduce myself. And you mentioned, okay, so people want to be a part of social media. How many candidates do you think now are coming from LinkedIn versus other sources? I know for me, my best probably 3 agents I work with in my agency came from LinkedIn. Then I wasn't even looking at that point, actually. It's more so my presence on LinkedIn had them say, hey, what are you doing? I want to talk about your work. So how often do you think you're getting good candidates from LinkedIn nowadays?
I mean, so I wish I had some better numbers. We are tracking that a little bit closer this year. But I can tell you just from what employees have done this year, I have received so many messages of, I'm seeing like your company blowing up in my feed. They're doing all these things across the nation. I want to be a part of this. And then just the referrals started flowing from there, from competitors, from different places. And it just has really enabled us to build some bench strength as we continue expanding. And it's been tremendous. So I would say more than 50% of our candidates probably come from LinkedIn. We have a robust platform that goes and posts jobs on a lot of different areas. But from the branding standpoint, what employees have been doing has been really powerful. And I'm seeing that in the direct messages and the comments out on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. So that brings the thing to life, I think, because your resume, that's just data points, things of that nature. I think that the LinkedIn can bring it to life and kind of make it a real person. So
100%.
when you look at the change of guard from like Gen X, is kind of, they have the soft skills generation. They've been pre-computer, and then we have millennials and Gen Z. They're post-computer, and their whole life is computer. So what's kind of an opportunity you see for these 2 generations to kind of take advantage and better position themselves with social media and job placement?
Yeah, I mean, I think the younger generations are super solid on LinkedIn. Their professional courtesy and their communication has been very solid, and the follow-up has been good. Again, a little bit of the devil in the details as far as referencing positions that they've applied for and including contact information, and like the email is helpful. But all across the board, I think they want to build their profile a little bit less resume and more who they are as a human. Because I'm going to scream it from the mountains. It's connection over qualifications. And, some people will say, how can you say that, Anna? Like, you have to have certain degrees to be a doctor. Yes, I get that. But we're talking about like corporate positions, right? Build your profile to highlight who you are as a professional and a person. And don't be afraid to include some personal information in your about section, right? Because again, it's about how the profile makes the viewer feel, which psychologically is what is going to motivate the recruiter or the hiring manager to pick up the phone to call them. So I tend to get a lot of this when I say these things to more boomers and traditionalists, because they were raised more in this buttoned up, super professional, don't reveal anything personal about your life. But I think we're trending in a different direction now, that we want to know all of you, because once we employ you, we get all of you. The good and the bad, and all the baggage and everything. So it's a touchy subject, but don't be afraid to surprise and delight your connections on LinkedIn with interesting information about you, because it's again how it makes you feel, and it makes you memorable. And again, it brings that resume to life and really makes the person jump out of the paper and starts igniting that movement towards a new opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a line of, we went through, social media said people lose jobs from their social media content, what they're posting on Facebook. But I think that was putting too personal, or like, putting your extreme political beliefs, or putting the cake stand you did last week at a party, things of that nature. But I think putting a little bit of, I have a rescue dog, or I do 5Ks all the time, like stuff like that is very
You
surface
climb the
level.
Appalachian Trail, or,
Yeah.
you're active in this rescue, or, I mean, just anything. It's building that rapport and those connections, and something that makes you stand out, like your bow tie, the bow tie guy, like, career BFF, my Golden Girls tie. It's the little things that land psychologically with people that make them memorable. And
Yep.
don't be afraid of that. Again, don't be afraid of that when you're doing phone screens or having face-to-face conversations. It is just as much an opportunity for candidates to vet the organization as it is for them to evaluate the candidates. So being prepared and asking those open-ended questions to screen for culture and economic responsibility and environmental responsibility and all of that stuff is so important.
Yep. And then we had Isabella asked, Anna, what do you think about a cover letter? I attach it, but is this something someone pays attention to and reads it carefully?
Do you want the honest truth? Okay. So
the honest, raw truth. How about this? I'll make an opportunity for you. Let's make an opportunity.
What?
Would it be better? Let's make an opportunity. Would it be better to do a video or a cover letter?
I like video. Okay, I read cover letters, but super fast. So just remember, we live in the world of like Twitter characters. People have like zero attention span these days. So
Yes.
you have to keep it like really short and sweet and have white space, right? Like who you are, why you're good for the position, and ask for a phone call. Long drawn out paragraphs with all your accomplishments are just going to go, next. Then I'll go right to the resume. So it's tricky. But if you do a video, it needs to be 30 seconds or less.
Okay, so Isabella, that could be the option. You can write your cover letter, but then attach a 30-second video that kind of sums it up real quick. And I think if they're going to like the video, they'll read the cover letter. That might be the sales process for that, though.
It can't hurt.
Yeah, it can't hurt. Yeah. Bonnie said transparency, and she said, okay, Anna, you got me sending you an invite. So you got a new invite coming to your inbox.
All right.
She said also incentives, part of a team making a difference. So that's something I think employers have an opportunity for. So let's talk about the small business. He has 10 employees. He's usually used Career Builder and Monster. What is the missed opportunity for him not having a LinkedIn page and kind of going through that channel?
Well, it's social proof, right? It's kind of like having a website. You might not use your website to get leads or do business, but there's just a comfort level. And it's that, again, that data point of exposure. Like if they have a website, then they're pretty legit. Or if they have LinkedIn, they're pretty legit. So, small to medium-sized businesses, and I know it's really hard for an independent owner to be active on social media. My brother runs a firm in Nashville, and he was talking about it. He's like, it's hard to be active on the platform and run a business and interview people and all of that stuff. But if they can make it a part of their week and just carve out a little bit of time each day, and it's mobile, you can do it at night, you can do it on weekends. I highly recommend it. Again, the landing page for a company is super simple to put together, and build a schedule that you post, or sit down one weekend and batch out your content about who you are as an employer and who you are as a company. I mean, who knows? You could probably do both, attract great talent and bring in new business, depending on the type of organization.
Yeah, I was talking with Marissa Cali about that a while ago. I interviewed her a few months ago, and she said she does it once a week. It's kind of her posting schedule stuff. If you just want to do anything, do at least once a week.
Yeah.
So
and
small business employers do that.
Yeah. And what I've learned so far, and I still have so much to learn about LinkedIn, but, little tiny bits of information. Like you don't want to overwhelm the readers, like just one singular thought about, like I publish about phone interviews or showing up on time, or, just little things that as they continue to warm up the audience, they'll build that credibility and start showing up as a leader as it relates to their industry.
Okay, perfect. And Chris Stone said, "Love the honesty. Thanks. Being honest about the cover letters, because nobody wants to waste time on something that's not going to make a difference."
Yeah, and I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm just saying for me, with the volume that comes in, I'll glance at it, but if I'm totally honest, I am not someone who reads every line of a cover letter. I want to get to the resume, look at the number of jobs, the titles, the positions, and just the content, basically.
Okay, perfect. And Isabella said, "Agree. I think 30-second video is much better." So it looks like we converted one person from a cover letter to a video.
All right, keep us posted. Let me know how that goes. And I love that she's open to that, because so many, I've mentioned that. And again, this comes more towards the boomer traditionalist candidates. They're like, no way. And I'm like, well, why? You're sending all these messages, these text messages, and you're not getting any response. Why not try that? Like, try something different.
Yeah, Sherry Jones, interestingly enough, about a month or so ago, made the intro video challenge. So if you guys haven't seen this hashtag intro video challenge, and it was a chance to kind of say, hey, you're part of a network, but people connect and don't really say what they do or introduce themselves. They kind of just connect and move on. So her idea was like, just post a video, like a minute, introducing yourself to your network again. And people got
and I'm trying to flex my muscles for the video. This was a great way to warm me up. So I appreciate the invite.
No problem. It's different, but you get used to it.
Yeah.
Bonnie has a jump up and she's a great job. Thank you. Bonnie, you got your live coming up in like a week and a half, so we'll get you in the hot seat next. So I know you're gonna get out of here, Anna. So I want to kind of leave it open for a plug for you. But before that, like, what do you think with soft skills? I know we're in an age of text messaging, email, things of that. How important do you think it is for the millennial and young generation, and even some of the boomers, to focus on the soft skills today?
I think it's really important, but I think it's also about networking, right? I think college kids need to be building their network from as they get out of high school. Leverage your parents' connections, right? Start building on LinkedIn, and start, have a mentor, and ask for support. The soft skills, it's really going to be a shift, I think, for HR departments and leaders to empower top tier leadership to be open, right? Challenging my hiring managers to say, this person doesn't look great on paper, but trust me. And that's where, when the candidates show up with the tips that we talked about today, when they're nourishing the relationship with the internal recruiters and the agency recruiters, they become an advocate for them, right? So that's when I can say, in a really confident place, like, hiring manager, I know this candidate doesn't look perfect, but she has the resiliency and the ability to flow in a fast-paced environment, and she's highly intelligent. Give her a shot. It's going to take more leaders in recruiting and HR to have these tough conversations with hiring managers, because a lot of times hiring managers are like, I don't see what you like on this resume, and it's hard to say, okay, I know they're not checking all the boxes, but just trust me, have a conversation with this person, because so many people get hung up on, I understand there's certain qualifications, core skills that people have to do certain jobs. Like, I get that. But in some areas, if you're willing to train, it's really just a mindset of being willing to teach and pass along what we have. Because as boomers and traditionalists exit the workplace, they're taking all of their knowledge with them. So if companies adapt more of that mentorship mentality versus a manager, they're going to improve engagement and get better skilled candidates and talent through the pipeline to be leaders in those organizations.
I love that because I think that's the big problem we're going to have is just the transfer of knowledge from Gen X and boomers to the millennials. So young people
But
out there, find a mentor.
yeah, find a mentor and just keep nourishing those relationships, because as you continue connecting and following those people and engaging, that's when they'll have built that rapport with you, where then they're willing to put their reputation on the line for you. And
Hmm.
that's what it's all about, right? Is someone vouching for you. That's where the best referrals come in. And that's where, again, the follow-up is going to be key in that whole process.
And I don't think you have to have one mentor too. I'm going to recap that. You can have more than one mentor. I mean, because if you're graduating college, you might not know exactly what you want to do yet. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. And LinkedIn is so wonderful for people to help. And there's so many learning platforms. There are different groups that you can join. You can, I mean, the options are limitless. And so
Mm.
don't be afraid to ask. People are more willing to mentor versus sending direct messages and selling people on the first connection. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
please don't do that.
And
So
don't hit on
what? Yeah, don't hit. I know you had who was that?
Suzanne.
Suzanne had a post about that. Yeah, I had a post
Yeah.
about that. Shout out Suzanne Spainer, which leads right perfectly into LinkedIn Meetup ATL. You'll see scrolling across the bottom. Great event. I can definitely say it changed my LinkedIn presence a ton.
Same.
I was guilty of having a ton of connections but no engagement prior to that meeting.
Yeah,
And
but then
I'll
you
probably
left
talk.
the meeting, you got Granted Live, you got Shanae Moret on, and just you hit the ground running.
Well, she actually had me on her live. I had a
Oh,
live for
she
a month.
did.
I had live for a month before I even used it because I was just scared. And then
I
during,
was just scared. I'm glad you.
yeah, no, I was totally terrified. I was like, I don't know what to do live. So Shanae and Courtney said, "Hey, you gonna go live with us?" And I didn't even hesitate. Like, sure. And that was my first time. And then Jordan was my first guest. Shout out Jordan Mendoza. I had a crappy webcam back then, but he's my first guest, so I got to have him on again later. But yeah,
And look at
definitely
you now. How
if you're in
much?
Atlanta, if you're in South Carolina, Florida, heck, you just come down, LinkedIn Meetup ATL. Great event to meet people. Tickets will be, I'll put the link in the comments, but
Yeah,
those on Team Live,
it's going
tag
to be
somebody,
amazing.
go.
I'm recruiting lots of people to come, and it's going to be a great time. The energy was so good. The speakers were so great. And it's just so nice to take online connections into real life. It just really,
Yes.
then you feel so much more supported, and just the container in LinkedIn just doesn't feel so vast, right? And it's just
Yes.
continuing to help introduce people to like-minded people, and then your feed just lights up with things that just inspire you and encourage you and just helps you along in your process, whatever your journey may be.
Yeah, and if you're in a state that hasn't had a LinkedIn local event, contact Suzanne Spainer. She's done New York and I think Florida probably as well.
Yeah.
So reach out to her. It's a great way to just make these connections real.
Mhm.
Again, I'll post in the comments for you guys to look at. If you know someone looking for a career placement, this is your career BFF. Contact Anna. You'll
Yeah.
see her in the replay as well.
Yes.
And share this with somebody looking for help with this. We'll do another live again tomorrow. I want to do one nearly every day this month in honor of LinkedIn Meetup ATL.
Total rock
So
star, girl.
I'm trying, but Anna, what are you going to leave the people with about Floor and Decor? What's some parting message you're going to leave with them about the organization and what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, we are growing like crazy. We're opening stores across the United States. We're looking for good talent here in Atlanta in our corporate office, and we're always looking for great leaders for our stores. So
Okay.
if you have been a store manager or a general manager or an operations manager, definitely reach out to me. We're just looking for great talent all around, and myself and my team will be happy to have conversations with you and figure out where you can land and start an amazing career with Floor and Decor.
Awesome. And if you need help figuring out bad email addresses for resumes and bad resume titles, contact Anna. I'm sure she has a ton of funny stories.
Yeah.
For stuff
I
like
love
that.
good stories. Yeah, send them my way.
All right, folks. Well, this ends business. Thank you for checking us out. I'm going to let y'all know I have a YouTube channel. It's bare bones. So do not beat me when you see my YouTube channel. There's no graphics, but this will be on YouTube as well. I'm working on that in the next week or two.
Good job.
But thank you. Anna, thanks again. I'll see you linked in Media ATL. We'll talk before that.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.